Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video we are going to be testing out and doing a couple of looks with the new ABH Norvina Volume 5 palette. This one I was so surprised that so many of you were interested in, which of course made me even more excited to get my hands on it and try it. So I cannot wait to show you what we can do with the palette. If you guys like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, please subscribe before you leave, and let's go ahead and get started. As always, I'm leaving you guys links to everything down in the description box of the video, so if you're interested in getting the palette or finding out anything else that I'm wearing on my face, definitely check out the description box. I'm also leaving you a link to my favorite brushes ever. I use these brushes in every single video that I make. They are my favorite eyeshadow brushes, and they're natural Japanese hair brushes, so they help eyeshadows blend so much easier. They currently have a couple bundles on sale for 40% off, and I don't want you guys to miss out on the opportunity to buy them if you are interested. Thank you to everybody who commented on my Will I Buy It video that you were interested in this palette. You guys honestly made me a lot more excited for it than I personally was, because when I first saw it, it reminded me a lot of the Volume 4 palette, but now that I've actually compared and swatched them side by side, which we'll get to later in the video, I have some new thoughts about it. So let's just start talking about this one. This Norvina Volume 5 palette is a professional grade artistry palette featuring 25 deluxe size, high performance, high pigment shades with a gorgeous lilac color story. Ranging from vibrant mattes to stunning neutrals and multi-dimensional sparkles, the buttery, highly pigmented formula of these shadows and pressed pigments delivers intense color payoff. Upon swatching these eyeshadows, I realized that the formula on this palette is a bit different from the formula in her previous volumes of palettes. These somehow feel a little bit more buttery and a little bit more blendable than I have felt in previous Norvina palettes. And when reading the description, it says that there is a blend of pigments and shadows, and I feel like in her previous palettes she had a lot more pigments than she did shadows, so that might be where some of these butteriness and blendability is coming from. But let me go ahead and show you guys the swatches of this palette. These are the first two rows swatched right here, rows A and B. I really love that she put a white color in this palette. I love white matte eyeshadows because I feel like blended with other shadows, they help transform the looks really nicely. The third color that you're looking at is the most beautiful shimmery lilac shade ever. I absolutely love it. And the colors A4 and A5 are the most perfect neutral shades, and they feel so blendable and buttery. Moving on to the second row, the color B1 really surprised me because it's just such a nice translucent type of shimmer. This is going to be a really great topper for so many other shades in this palette. Moving on, the color C1 also really impressed me. It is another very beautiful shimmery shade, and the color C2 is the most perfect silvery pewter shade, and it's absolutely packed with pigment. The color C4 is a beautiful peachy rose gold shimmer that I'm also super excited to play with. And moving on to row D, I absolutely love that multicolored glitter shade that is the color D2, and I can't wait to see what I can do with it. Lastly, we have the row E, and in this one I really like the first shade because it is a really nice peachy shimmer shade, and the last shade, E5, is a really deep burgundy shade that still has a neutral undertone, so I'm very excited to play with that one too. Overall, I do think that this is Norvina's most wearable palette yet. I really like that she included a lot of nude neutral shades in this palette, and I also like that she has some pops of purple in there. Honestly, I am much more excited to play with the nude neutral burgundy shades and the purple shimmers than I am with the matte purples for some reason. I just feel like the matte purples we've kind of seen very similar shades to in previous palettes of hers, so I'm not super excited excited about those in this palette specifically. However, I do think that combined with the more neutral shades that this palette has, we are going to be able to create some absolutely stunning looks. So I am very excited about that. I'm going to show you comparisons to both of the Norvina palettes that I immediately thought of when I saw this one, and that is the Norvina Volume 1 palette and the Norvina Volume 4 palette. But I'm going to do that after we play with this one and do a couple of eyeshadow looks. So let's go ahead and get into the looks first, and then we'll do comparisons and swatch comparisons with those palettes. I'm not going to switch the lens on my camera for the very close-up lens that I have for eye looks, because I want to do this kind of as a first impressions video. So I want to talk and give you guys my opinions on the shadows as I go. But definitely let me know if you want a 5 looks 1 palette with this one down in the comment section, and I will for sure do it if there's enough interest for it. So let's get started, and I think I'm going to start with the color A4 right here, and this is my REPHR number 15 brush, and I'm just going to back and forth blend that color on the crease of my eye. Okay, so far so good. That is blending out really beautifully. I grabbed a little bit more for up here, and I'm doing little circles to diffuse it. This is where I really like to use that white shade that came in the palette, because I feel like I can now run it through right underneath my eyebrow and really have a matte highlighted eye, and it blends so perfectly with the transition shade. I'm going to grab the color A5 next to build up the eyeshadows a little bit, and I'm going to just pop it right here on the outer corner of the eye. Again, that's blending beautifully. One issue I had with these Norvina palettes at first, particularly the Volume 1 palette, was that because there were so many pressed pigments in it, I felt like the shadows were a little bit harder to blend, but I am not experiencing that at all with this palette. And honestly, the color story is beautiful. Let's go on to a darker shade. Let's try the color C5. And they're so full of pigment right away. You have to kind of dust off your brush every time because these are so pigmented. Okay, this shade is also beautiful, and look at how much intensity I got from it. Let's go ahead and blend it out. Back with the fluffy brush, I'm just going to make sure everything blends nicely. I think I want to use the color C4, which is this beautiful like peachy rose gold shade right here on the center of my eyelid. Just pat it all over the eyelid. Let me tell you, I was skeptical about this eyeshadow palette, but all of a sudden I'm not anymore. This is beautiful. Wow, that is so stunning. With my REPHR number 28, I'm just going to define that edge a little more. It almost looks like a cut crease just from the pigment that the shimmer has. The number 28 brush makes it very easy to define your shimmers very nicely, but this is pretty. This is really pretty. I am so impressed so far. By the way, did you guys notice that when I added the color C5 to the eye look, it turned the neutral shades purple? Because I just realized that I haven't put any actual purple shade on my eye, yet my eyeshadow looks purple. And it definitely was this C5 shade right here. It has a very strong purple undertone, and when mixed with the neutral shades, it turned my eyeshadow pretty purple. I'm not upset at it, just like beware. For underneath my eye, I'm going back to that color C5, and I have my REPHR number 26 brush, and I'm just running it under here, back and forth from the outer corner and going inwards. See, it's definitely that shade that has the very strong purple undertone. And then with the color A4, in my REPHR number 14, we are going to blend that out. For the inner corner, I'm going to grab the color B1 on my 28 brush, and I'm just going to pop it in here. Wow, that was very pigmented so fast too. That is a stunning inner corner shade right there. She is not shy, she is very shiny. Black eyeliner in my waterline. I smudged a little bit of the black eyeliner in between my lower lashes, and I'm smudging it with my REPHR number 3 brush back and forth. I have lash extensions on, but I feel like this look needs even more lashes, so I don't know that this is allowed, but I'm going to put fake lashes on top of my lash extensions. Don't judge me. Okay, I added extra lashes and this is the final first look. What do you guys think? So far, I'm honestly more excited about this palette than I thought I would be. To start the second look, I'm going to grab the color B2. With a fluffy brush, this one is the REPHR number 27. By mistake, I just grabbed the color B3, so I'm just gonna go for it. And I'm just going to darken up a little bit with it, and then I'll go back to... If you are into pastel purples, these two shades are beautiful. Okay, back to B2 because I wasn't done blending upwards with it. There we go. A bit more B3 on the same brush, and I'm just going to intensify things with it on the inner corner. Okay, B3 is my new favorite shade. What a stunning purple. That is so pretty. I don't want to darken this eye look anymore because I feel like it looks so beautiful this way. So I'm going to go into C2 right here, which is the beautiful pewtery silver shade. And I'm going to tap it right in the center of this eye look, just patting it. And I'm not getting any fallout from any of these shades, by the way. With the REPHR number 28 brush, I'm going to grab A3. And I'm going to put it right here on the edge of the matte purple and the silver shade on both sides, of course, and just tapping it in place. I'm covering this eye so that it's not too distracting. That looks so stunning. Back to the color B3, this time with my REPHR number 13. And I'm going to run it underneath my lower lash line, connect it at the end. I know that purple eyeshadows are hard to make because sometimes they don't blend as easy, and pastel shades are also hard to make because they sometimes are a little chalky or not pigmented enough. But this purple kind of pastel type of shade blends and performs like an absolute dream. So I feel like that alone says a lot about this eyeshadow palette. A little B2 on the same REPHR number 13, and I'm just blending it under that purple shade. It's the same color we used for a transition shade at the top. I'm putting a pastel pink eyeliner in my waterline. This one is from Fenty. And for the inner corner, I'm going to grab the color B1 because I was very impressed with it as an inner corner shade, so I want to do it again. You know what? I grabbed a little bit more of it and I'm going to put it over the silver. It just made it a little bit more shiny. I'm going to add a bit of mascara to my lower lashes and a strip lash to the top of this eye as well. Okay, mascara and lashes applied, and this right here is the final second look. I absolutely love that pastel purple shade. It is so beautiful, and the inner corner color that I use for both sides is absolutely stunning. So check out both looks. This is look number 1 here. I love how dramatic this one is, and the contrast between the warm shimmer shade and the cool tone mattes on the outer corner I think is absolutely stunning. And look number 2. This one has more ethereal, fairy-like pastel shades, and I absolutely love it. I feel like this one's just as dramatic, but in a different way. Now that I'm done playing with this palette for the first time and that I created these two stunning eye looks, I honestly cannot wait to continue to play with it. So I hope that a lot of you guys are interested in that You Want a 5 Looks 1 palette with it, because I'm going to have a lot of fun making that video. So let's go ahead and compare this palette to the other 2 Norvina palettes that have a lot of purpley hues that already are in her collection. So first, this is Norvina Volume 5 versus Norvina Volume 1. As you can see, the first Norvina palette has a lot more of a striking, colorful story to it. It looks a little bit more moody, darker, but it also has a lot of very vibrant neon shades, while the Norvina Volume 5 palette has a lot of more muted, toned down, neutral shades that you can then combine with some pops of purple shades. I was personally never really attracted to the Norvina Volume 1 palette. In fact, the only reason I have it in my collection is because it was gifted to me by Sephora when I still worked there, and I've used it maybe once since I've had it, and it was just to kind of try it out and test it out. and I was not a fan of the formula that was in the volume 1 palette because there are a lot of pressed pigment shades in that one which I find a little bit harder to blend. Here's Norvina volume 4 versus Norvina volume 5, and these two look a little bit more similar in the sense that Norvina volume 4 has some lighter shades, some neutrals in there, but it still has a lot more pops of color, I feel like. With that said, before Norvina volume 5 came out, this one was definitely my favorite Norvina palette in my collection, and I was able to create some really beautiful looks with this one because this one has a really good combination of neutral and colorful shades as well. So I did a review on this one and a 5 looks 1 palette, and I honestly really love Norvina volume 4 as well. Now I feel like now that I've compared volume 5 to volume 4, the color story on this one kind of speaks to me a little more because it has less pops of color in it. I am a neutral glam person at heart, but I do like combining pops of color in my glam looks, and I feel like that is exactly what this palette gives you. I know I still have a lot of shades that I didn't even touch today to play with, but honestly so far so good with this palette, and I feel like this palette is just a lot easier to navigate. The color combinations in this one are a little bit more user-friendly, more intuitive than the color combinations in her previous palettes. Now I did go ahead and do some swatch comparisons between volume 5 and the other 2 palettes in my collection. I'm not going to go shade by shade through them, but I just wanted to show you, if you already have both of these palettes, what you can expect to be different or similar from the new Norvina volume 5 palette. So the first comparison you're looking at is Norvina volume 5 Rose A and B versus similar shades that I found to it on the Norvina's volume 1 and 4 palettes. As you can see, I couldn't find a shade for each shadow from the other 2 palettes because I feel like the other 2 just don't have as many light color shades as the volume 5 has, but I was still able to find some very similar looking shades from both of the other palettes. Then we have Rose C and D. I was able to match a few more shades in this one. The matte purple shades are not exactly the same, but at the same time, I feel like there probably isn't going to be a very noticeable difference. Once you blend those shades on the eyelid, I feel like that little variation in color is just not going to show up too much. And then there's Row E, and the colors that I found look similar from the other 2 palettes. There's nothing exactly the same about these specific swatch comparisons, but I just wanted to show you what the closest shadows were from the previous volumes of the Norvina palette. I truly hope that those swatch comparisons were helpful in like helping you determine whether or not you need this palette if you already have these 2 palettes right here. Again, a lot of the shades were pretty similar, but not exactly the same. And color story wise, if you don't have any Norvina palettes and you're going to finally go for one, I definitely think that the new Norvina palette would be the one that I would go for, because again, it's more of a very glamorous palette with a pop of color rather than a bunch of colors thrown in there everywhere. Norvina just has a very colorful personality, so it makes her previous palettes not as user-friendly as this new one is. I honestly was very skeptical about this new Norvina palette. If you guys watch my Will I Buy It video, I was just like, another purple palette, really? But now that I tried it and I played with it and I compared it to my previous Norvina palettes, I definitely can tell you that I love the color story in this one a lot more than I thought I would. And also I feel like the eyeshadow formulas in this new Norvina palette are a lot better, more buttery, more blendable than the ones in her previous palettes. I find them, and you guys can see it on the swatch comparisons too. The dark purple shades from the previous palettes swatched a lot more dry and less buttery than the ones from this one, so that's how I can tell that the formula is definitely changed and improved for sure. So yeah, let me know if you guys want me to do more looks with this Norvina palette. I definitely want to continue to play with it because I loved both looks that I came up with today, which they're probably very distracting and I'm so sorry. But I honestly really loved both looks that I came up with today, and I can't wait to come up with more and to continue to play with this palette. If you're thinking about it, I would say definitely go for it because it is a really beautiful palette, and you get 25 beautiful shades for $60, which is not outrageous. So if you're interested, definitely check the links that I'm leaving you down in the description box of the video. I am so sorry I didn't have this video out for you guys sooner. I was out of commission for a couple of days. If you follow me on Instagram, you know exactly what happened. I love you guys so much. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on the notifications bell if you don't want to miss out on my videos. I sometimes see you guys asking me for a video about a particular product that I already did a video on, which tells me that YouTube is not showing you my content. So if you want to see every single video I upload, definitely ring the bell. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you back in the next video. Bye!